Hey, it's Spanky, and you're listening to Rock Paper Podcast. Check out Spank On Ya, Thursday, February 27th at the Old Rock House.
Hey, everybody, Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast. Thanks for tuning in to another brand new episode. Hey, want to tell you a couple things. If you haven't seen the social media, I've got brand new Rock Paper Podcast stocking caps available today. Let me know if you like one. I also have the shirts and ball caps still in stock if you'd like one of those also. Feel free to email me at rockpaperpodcast@gmail.com or hit me up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And but yeah, these moving the stocking caps for $10. So get them while you can, while it's cold outside. Keep your head nice and warm. So also want to tell you about my next singer-songwriter storytelling showcase happening at Naked Vine in Chesterfield, Missouri on March 10th, Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. I'll be out there with Jonathan Brady and Haley Woolbright and Vince Puzo. Vince, you've seen around with Morning Mountain, so come on out to that show. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. Again, this is three writers sitting on stools playing their songs acoustically in a listening room setting. So it's a whole lot of fun out there. Again, Naked Vine is located on Clarkson Road in Chesterfield, Missouri, serving up the finest wine, whiskey, tequila, and local craft beers. Swing by and visit them this weekend for some great live music on Valentine's Day, February 14th. You can catch my buddy Adam Gaffney out there with the Highway Saints. And on Saturday, February 15th, Alligator Wine doing a little more stripped-down acoustic trio show out there for you. And they'll be playing all your favorite Grateful Dead tunes all night long. You can find all the full listing of events and things at nakedvine.net. Be sure to follow along on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And I want to say a quick thanks to Heil Microphones for their support. Visit heilsound.com today and pick up some brand new gear. Recording this intro on my microphone from Heil. I love this thing, and I think you will too. Check it out, heilsound.com. And also want to say a big thank you to Roughneck Beard Company and American Rambler, located in Maplewood, Missouri, right off of Manchester. You can swing by their shop or shop online 24/7 at roughneckbeardcompany.com. I've been using this products. I've been using the beard oil lately, and I really love it. It smells great. Just makes me feel good, you know? That's what it's supposed to do. So check it out. They got some other wonderful products and beard balms. They got junk powder for your junk, and they've got all kinds of different things. So if you got a beard or know somebody with a beard, send them on over to roughneckbeardcompany.com today. Use my code RPP15 for an exclusive 15% off during checkout. All right, that's it for me. Thank you all again for listening. Thanks for everything, all the support. Really means the world to me. Would love to hear from you. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, any of that stuff, feel free to hit me up on the email. Again, rockpaperpodcast@gmail.com. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Thank you.
A podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio. It's on the internet. Does that make sense? Uh-huh. Yeah. That's also like my mom. It makes it sound more confusing, doesn't it? It sounds like this.
Hey, this is Tim Allen. You're listening to the Rock Paper Podcast with Shane Presley.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Scissors beat paper, paper covers rock. Rock beats scissors, Shane covers non-stop. Never know what new kind of guest that he's got coming at you. Live and direct on the spot. Could be rock, folk, country, or hip-hop, jazz. All kind of folks that he has. Could be an artist or a comedian to make you laugh on the
Rock Paper Podcast.
Double-decker fudge round, rolling round town. Shane coming at you live and direct from ground zero. He's your hero, he's your bestie. Rock Paper Podcast with Shane Presley.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Hey, everybody. Shane Presley here, Rock Paper Podcast, coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri. Hanging out today with Tim Allen.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, Shane. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, this is cool, man. I say it a lot of anybody that's been tuning in for a while. I say this about every episode lately that I've been having a lot of fun because I'm doing the show nearly 6 years now, and I continue to meet new people to me, and then making music and stuff. And so it's a lot of fun when this is our first time sitting down and actually getting to talk and meet each other and hang. And, we kind of been friendly online a bit, but the show is good for me to actually get to sit down with my friends and talk. And
well, it's a pleasure to finally meet you. That's for sure.
Yeah, man.
I've been following your page for a while now, and I appreciate what you do on social media, especially for all the St. Louis venues and all the St. Louis area musicians. It's definitely a good tool for us. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, sir. Appreciate the kind words. I started all that. I mean, I've talked about it, but I started all that because everybody was saying there's nothing to do in this town. And I kept seeing that, and I'm like, you're wrong, and I'm going to show you. And at the time, I started it, several years ago, so it's fun for me to look at these as how it's progressed, because at the time I started it, I only knew 4 or 5 shows on a Friday night. That was kind of my bubble, my radar there. And I was like, well, I know this and going on. And so I put it out there, and then as my knowledge of St. Louis music and has continued to grow, and more people would comment on there too, and I'd learn about another thing, and
right.
And so on. It kept growing and growing, and where now I'm hitting 60 something on a Friday night or something like that.
Yeah, that's great. And the stuff during the week is it's amazing. Yeah. Plus it helps artists out. So.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about. I'm just trying to help my friends and let people know there's cool stuff going on any night of the week, and especially like I said, St. Louis is. It's pretty wild how much entertainment's going on in that town. I say St. Louis, but it's the greater St. Louis area. I mean, my list ranges from probably a good 50-mile radius around St. Louis and stuff. So
it's awesome.
But I try to be all inclusive on there. So
yeah.
But anyway, enough about that. I want to get to know a little bit more about you and some of your music and things. I've been listening a lot, and really like. The record, you have the EP out there that I was listening to a lot on Spotify, and sounds great, man. So I'm really excited to sit and talk about some of these songs and stories. And
yeah, I appreciate that. That my friend, I reached out to my friend Cole Porter, who's in the band Porter Union. They're out of Springfield, Missouri, and told him what I was looking to do. The story's kind of wild. The EP, it wasn't anything that I was really going to put out to the public. I had found out that my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Yeah. So, unfortunately, my dad had never seen me play live. It was just kind of starting to ramp up. I played music for a while just on the side as a hobby, and going out and just literally doing it for fun. Yeah. Not to make money, just to go have our friends come out and just have a good time. And it started building and building, and other places were wanting me to come and play. So that's kind of how it all started. Well, at the time, I never thought it would turn into what it has turned into. Mm-hmm. So when my dad was diagnosed, I believe it was April or May that he was diagnosed. And let's see, it would have been 2016. And I guess it was probably, he battled it for 20 months. And if you know anything about pancreatic cancer, you're lucky to get 4 or 5 when you're diagnosed at stage 4. Right. So when it got a little more serious, and he was at the Cleveland Clinic, so he was in one of the best places he could be in the world. But when it got a little more serious and there was nothing else that they could do, later that fall, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to get him for Christmas, knowing that, the time was running out. So I got a hold of my friend Cole and told him what I was wanting to do, having never been in the studio before. I said, look, I have a few songs. I would like to just get them recorded, something quick and simple, and get them to my dad before we run out of time. Get it to him as a Christmas present. And this was in late October, early November, so it was going to be a rush job, you know. And at the beginning of that December of 2018, I had to leave to go to Ohio because he was going downhill pretty fast. So we went and we spent 3 weeks out there, and he passed away a few days after Christmas on December 28th. So we didn't get it done in time for him. And after he had passed away, I'm sorry, it was 2017. After he had passed away, I went and I had written a new song. I had a really weird thing that was going on where I was waking up at night or in the morning, and I was having pretty vivid dreams that he was in the dreams, and it just, I couldn't remember what they were. So I wrote this song, which has turned into the song Who Am I to Say? And the first line is, I wake up to forgotten dreams. And I had that line come into my head as I remember it like it was yesterday, as I was brushing my teeth, and I was on my way into the office that morning, and I just had more of it coming to me. And it was like I couldn't get there fast enough to grab a piece of paper and write down the thoughts that were coming into my head so fast.
Yeah.
And I literally wrote that song in, I think, less than 15 minutes. And I didn't think much of it. And I went up to, there was a guy from North Carolina named Jonathan Parker that was out in the area. And I did a show opening up for him up in Omaha, outside of Omaha, Nebraska, at a little place called Buck's Bar and Grill. And there wasn't a lot of people there. But that was the first time I played that song. And judging by the reaction of a couple of people in the crowd, it was obviously something I needed to, if I was even going to continue with the project, it was something that needed to be on there. So one of the people there had taken a video of it, and they sent it to me, and I sent it to Cole, and he was like, you need to continue this project, and that song needs to be on there. Yeah. So we decided to go ahead with it, and it turned into that EP, and it was such a pleasure working with those amazing musicians. That song in particular, we have some, in the industry, some pretty well-known names on that particular song. I had the idea to give it a more of a gospel feel. There's a song that Jamie Johnson recorded. I think it was written by Randy Houser, and it's called Lead Me Home, and it turns into like a gospel song at the end with a choir singing, and that's kind of the feel we were going for. And I think with the three ladies that I'm fortunate enough to have sing on that song, I think that's exactly what they turned it into. So that song is definitely the basis of the EP. I mean, the one lady, she's on tour with Zach Brown, and the other has done work with Blackberry Smoke. I mean, some of the biggest names in the business these ladies have worked with, and what they did was just amazing on the recorded version of it. Nice. So
we did do a little live jam of it here, in a little live acoustic for the show today.
Yes.
Which also sounds incredible. I'm a real sucker for just a live acoustic stuff. Just it's the bare bones of a great song and stuff. And
this is Who Am I to Say? I wake up to forgotten dreams, but my thoughts just seem to be of you. I can't see any streets of gold. All I seem to travel is broken roads. But this life is so much different, 'cause I don't have you in it. I can't imagine it without you. I'll be fine, and you'll be in my heart, forever on my mind. And who am I to say it wasn't your time? It wasn't your time. sit and stare. This wall in front of me, thinking back to all the times of my youth. How would I know? All the lessons would define who I would become in my own time. But this life is so much different, 'cause I don't have you in it. I can't imagine it without you. I'll be fine, and you'll be in my heart, forever on my mind. And who am I to say it wasn't your time? It wasn't your time. I'll go on with everything I've earned and try to take what I have learned, pass it down. I can keep your memory alive if I live my life with truth and honesty. 'Cause this life is so much different, 'cause I don't have you in it. I can't imagine it without you. I'll be fine, and you'll be in my heart, forever on my mind. And who am I to say it wasn't your time? It wasn't your time.
It's fun to hear those things, those stories. I love the records too and stuff, but that's what I love, that when a song, like, that's when you know you got something, when you can take all that away and to where it's just you and your guitar and it's still a great song. Like,
Thank you.
The lyrics are there and everything. You don't need big flashy guitar solos and, all the, I mean, like I said, all that's really cool and nice and on those recordings. But like I said, that's when you know you got a good song, when you can.
I appreciate that more than you know. There's not a higher compliment than somebody telling you that they appreciate what you've written. One of the coolest things, there's two really cool things that have happened to me. I was playing that song at a show up outside of Des Moines, Iowa, and after I played that particular song, a girl, I finished my set and a girl came up to me and she said, I want to tell you about that song, what it means to me. And I said, it's a pretty heavy song for people. And she goes, you don't understand. I haven't talked to my mom in over 2 years. And after hearing that song, I immediately went out and called her. So I want you to know that song that you wrote is going to forever change our relationship, which was crazy.
Yeah, man. I've had a couple, I've been fortunate to have, not necessarily to that extent, but just have situations where people have expressed what this show means to them, or something. Like, one, I wasn't even necessarily, like, I was on the show, but a guy told a story and this woman heard it, and it happened to be about her dad, and like, it was just crazy that she found it on the internet, and like, obviously, I'm sure she put it all together, but it's not like I sent her the link, like, hey, listen to this. Right. It's like she just found it, and then she messaged me like, hey, that story's about my dad, and like, it really moved her, and I'm like, well, that's cool that you had this opportunity to have that moment, and stuff with the show. So, but yeah, like, to make that kind of an impact, and like, that's something that's really, it really makes me think a lot, like, just the ripple effect of what the
this is your story and you're putting it out there. But yeah, she has that moment with her. Maybe she shares it with a friend, and that's so on and so on. And it's like maybe what this thing could do, you know. So
You never know how something that you do is going to affect somebody else. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
yeah, man.
And I never experienced it until I started doing this more and more and getting out there and playing. I've been playing out for about 5 years.
Yeah.
And I never thought, like I said before, I never thought that it would turn into what it's turned into. And I'm so thankful. I never thought that it would be my full-time job, but here it's been paying my bills for about 1.5 years now.
Yeah, man,
which is amazing.
That's incredible. Yeah, I think it was you touched on something though. You said something about that came to you in a dream, the lyric, and I was just a while back. I was watching that James Corden late night show, you know.
Yeah.
And he had Paul McCartney on, and they did the carpool karaoke.
Yeah.
In Liverpool and all this stuff. But it was watching that a while back, and he talked about that even that line "Let It Be," that his mother came to him in a dream and said that. And
That's crazy. I've never heard that. That's awesome.
So when you're saying that, I immediately thought of that. Like that's how he ended up writing "Let It Be" was like it was literally in a dream that his mother told him that line, and he woke up and wrote the song. And so like I don't know, it was an eerie kind of thing, like the fact that you're saying that exact same story and like and about your dad and for me, like all that really hit home too, because if you've been following along with any of my story, I lost my mother this year in 2019, so I mean like all that going through that journey with her, and then like right after, or it wasn't very long after she passed, like I wrote about it online. I woke up from a very vivid dream that she was like alive and well, and and it was like it wasn't like she was like, it was like today. It was like fast forward into the future somewhere, and
right.
and I'm like having this dream, like this moment with her, and I'm like you know, we totally skipped all that part where she was sick and stuff. And I was like, so it was a very strange dream for me at the time. Like I woke up and I'm like, what was that? Like, and
I know the feeling.
yeah. So
yeah, the other way that things come to me, I drive a lot. I do about 60,000 miles a year. I'm originally from Northeast Ohio. I moved out here to mid-Missouri in 2008. I live in Mexico, Missouri. And I moved out here in 2008 to start up a roadwork business. And I had that business for 10 years. But when I left Ohio, I told both of my kids, and they were young at the time, but I told them I would still see them as if I lived a mile down the road, because even if I lived a mile down the road, I would still see them every other weekend being divorced. So that's what I've held to. I mean, I've been going back and forth to Ohio. It's about a 10-hour drive to Northeast Ohio, and I've been doing that since 2008. So that's where the song Lifetime on the Road, which is the title track, came from.
Said a man has two things in this life. One is worthy, other his name. And don't be late, waste another's time. There's a golden rule, so remember to be kind. Spend a lifetime on the road, keeping a promise that I made so long ago. Been used to time left home, chasing all that gold. Spend a lifetime on the road. From the East Coast all the way out to LA, keep on chasing that dollar, trying to find my place. It's been a battle, Lord, in every single kept my word, seems to be my way. Spent a lifetime on the road, keeping a promise that I made so long ago. Being used to time left home, chasing all that gold. Spent a lifetime on the road. Spent a lifetime on the road, keeping a promise that I made so long ago. Been used to time left home, chasing all that gold. Spent a lifetime on the road. Spent a lifetime on the road, keeping a promise that I made so long ago. Been used to time left home, chasing all that gold. I've spent a lifetime on the road. I've spent a lifetime on the road.
And Cole had the great idea of that steel guitar hook on there that to give it a more of a spaghetti western kind of sound.
That well, yeah, I was like when you kind of alluded to that earlier off mic about your kids and all that, and I was just like, man, like that's not just a story, you're living it, you know, like that's based on a true story for sure. Like,
Yeah.
You know, so
I've always traveled with work. I had my dad owned a trucking company, and I worked for him for a while, driving truck, flatbed, mostly East Coast stuff. And then after I quit working for him, I went to work for a company doing road work, and went all over the United States. I remember one year we worked out in Southern California. It was a total of 16 weeks over the course of the year, you know. A lot of East Coast stuff there too. But, I mean, we worked all over Kentucky and out here in Missouri, and that's how I made Missouri connections.
Right.
This was back in 2006, 7, and 8. And then I decided to go ahead and move out here and pursue to do it myself. So
Yeah.
it all worked out.
Yeah. Well, along with even keeping in contact with your kids, you also you travel a lot just for music here. I mean, I looked at your calendar, and your tour dates are all over the place too. Like you
I go all over.
Yeah, you make sure to get all around the map, and so like that's also that's what I first thought of too. Like I didn't really necessarily know it was more personal than that, but I just like imagine this is like a guy that, you know, the story of a songwriter that, you know, spending the time on the road and stuff, getting out there and doing it. So
yeah, last February of 19, I was down in the Carolinas. I think I played in 12 or 13 states over the course of 2019. Quite a few, I know that. From down in Nashville to down in Texas. Have some friends down that way and played down there. And Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, obviously, but Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, few weeks ago, I was clear over in eastern Pennsylvania on a Sunday afternoon, you know.
What well, so like when you're doing all that kind of stuff, I mean, do you take a little time to take it all in, like these different towns, or you pretty much like stick to business, you drive in, play your gig and head to the next one? Or
yeah, that's pretty much what I do. Just get in and get out, because I am horrible. I am absolutely horrible at doing routing. Yeah. So that's part of the reason why I do so many miles, because I have a hard time saying no to people. They ask me, man, can you come play? And my answer always seems to be yes. Right. You know, obviously I'm not going to do it for free because it costs money to do that. But yeah, that's why, you know, I could be in eastern Pennsylvania one day and get done with a gig and, oh, well, it's only 14 hours home. You know what I mean? So I don't know why I do stupid stuff like that. Yeah. But I bought a van back in, I've had it for about 6-7 months now. And since I bought that, life has gotten a lot easier. I got it set up with a bed in there and everything. Right. So I've only actually stayed in a hotel room, I think, twice since I've gotten that. And I've put a lot of miles on that van already. I've put, let's see, 15. I've put almost 25,000 miles on it in the last 7 months, 7 months. So,
yeah, but like I guess I mean that for me, like I think that would be, I think the ultimate, like, you know, doing it with the band and everything. But when we get to that point, but it's like it's just exciting that to you as you and your guitar, and you can just hit the road whenever you want, and like and just. You know,
as long as they'll have me, I'll go.
Right, yeah. And so it's very cool that you're getting to do that, and the fact that now it's paying the bills, and you've only been doing it for 5 years, which to me like that's crazy to think about. Like, you know, there's a lot of people that do this for years and years, and still like have the day job hustle and stuff, but it's really really cool to hear that. It's working out, man. So
well, I have, you know, I mentioned the Carolinas, which I'm getting ready to go back there in the middle of March of 2020, and here in a few weeks, which will be here before we know it. But I have a bunch of family down that way, so it's good to go down there. I have a cousin that I'm pretty close with, and I'll go and stay at her place for the whole time that I'm down there. But I'll play in that whole Greenville and Charlotte area for, you know, I think I have 5 or 6 shows lined up. One of them is a song swap with one of my buddies that lives out that way. So having family in that area, you know, at least I know I'll eat while I'm there.
Right. Well, and like you said too, just meeting those buddies and then like creating those friendships in different towns where, you know, you can and create those song swaps too. Like I think that's fun. Like a lot of my buddies, they do that. They'll meet all these bands on the road, and then they bring them back home to St. Louis and play a show with them here and stuff, and like that kind of stuff. So it's cool. Like they'll put you up at their town, and then you take care of them when they come to your town.
And when he was out here, we did like a 5 or 6 show run together. His name he goes by Pistol Hill, and him and my other buddy Rich Henderson, we did like 5 or 6 shows together, and it was just a song swap for 6 shows, and it was great because none of us have the same style. Rich, he's got a very he's from Alabama, but he's got a place over in Kentucky now, which that whole music scene is so incredibly hot right now. But his style is definitely different than mine. I'm a fan of traditional country music, and that I guess my sound is geared towards that a little more. In Pistol Hill, he's kind of in between a little bit, so it worked out great. We were giving people definitely a different style with each person, and all of us write our own original songs. We do covers too, but. It's great. It's great meeting people like that and getting to hook up with them. And you actually get to know the people, too, and go out and have fun. Right. I mean, it sure doesn't feel like work, I'll tell you that much. Right. And it's a lot safer than doing road work. That's for sure. Yeah.
Well, take me back. I mean, you mentioned some of the story, like that you didn't really grow up playing and stuff, but how did you stumble upon that this is something that you might be good at? Like, I mean, did you always have a guitar around the house? Or
there was, you know, I have a funny story about that. There's back in the late 50s, I guess it would have been, my grandparents bought this house. And as far as I know, this is how the story goes. I'm not going to claim that it's going to be 100% correct because obviously I wasn't there. But as far as I know, they bought this house. And when they bought this house, the guy who they bought it from had left everything in it. And downstairs in the basement, my dad found this guitar. I don't know exactly how old he was, but he was a kid. And he found this old 1933 Martin 017 guitar that was stuffed up in a closet. And that guitar was always around when I was a kid. But I decided, instead of there, being a guitar there, I decided, I want to bang on some drums. So I took lessons for a little while, and I, just didn't have the discipline as a little kid to take drum lessons. And I was more interested in sports, and when I got a little older, more interested in cars. My first car was like a 1964 Ford Falcon.
There you go, nice.
Yeah. So musically, I grew up going to church every Sunday and singing in choir when I got older. And I knew I could sing. Well, I didn't know that I could sing, but I had a lot of people tell me that I could sing. Then when I got a little older, and we would go out with friends, and we'd end up at a karaoke bar or something. And I mean, people tell me I have a good voice. Hey, can you sing this song? And then it kind of evolved into that.
What are you singing? Which one?
Back then, probably Alabama or, old Randy Travis or something like that, or Waylon, or Merle Haggard's probably my number one, especially as I get older. Merle Haggard's my number one. Yeah. But, a lot of stuff like that.
I did, I think the last time I did karaoke, I did Night Moves from Seeger. So that was
right on. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just saw him on the final tour. Yeah. So that was kind of the thing in my early 20s. I was, like most kids, just kind of confused of where life was headed, and ended up having a couple kids, daughter and a son. My daughter just turned 18, which is absolutely insane to me. I don't know where the time has gone, but that the marriage didn't end up working out. So I ended up coming out here and working for myself and going back and forth and seeing the kids. And we built a log home. Let's see, we started it in 2012. I'm bringing it back to music, trust me. But we started it in 2012. The roadwork business was very good to us, and we didn't end up finishing it. We tried to do everything we could ourselves. So it took us about 2 years to finally get moved into it. And I told my girlfriend at the time, I said, I'm going to, as soon as we're done with this, I'm going to go get a guitar again, and I'm going to just force myself to learn. Because what's the worst thing that happens? In 5 years, I still don't know how to play. Right. I'm terrible. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the way everybody should, if they're starting out, I think that's the attitude that they should have. What's the worst that happens?
Right.
You want to do it? Go do it. Especially nowadays. If I'd have had YouTube when I was a kid, well, that's a whole nother story. But as far as learning an instrument, I mean, I don't want to sound like an old man, but them kids don't know how easy they got it when it comes to learning. Yeah, I mean, there's everything. We walk around with something that you have a world of knowledge in the palm of your hand.
Right.
So that's kind of how it started. And then my buddy Steve back in Mexico, Steve Schulte, there's a shout out for him. We were up at a place called The Dugout, which is kind of our little hometown place, and there was live music there. One of the local guys was playing, and Steve tells the venue owner, Kelly at the time, man, you ought to have Tim come up here and play. And she walked up to me and she said, Steve said you should come up here and play. I said, what? And she goes, what, are you scared? I said, well, I ain't scared. I'll come up and play. I don't care. So I did, and that's kind of how it started. And played around the area. I was still doing the road work at the time, so that was my number one focus. So I didn't have the ability to travel playing music like I do now. So that's kind of how it all started, just going and playing cover tunes, and then I started writing my own songs. And
you always, I mean, like, was the first time writing though, was like applying yourself to writing for your own originals, but you didn't, It wasn't like any like poetry or anything other writing before, like something that you may have took notice that I'm actually pretty good with these words. Like
I didn't know if I was any good.
Right, yeah.
I mean, the first song that I wrote that I played in front of people was Lifetime on the Road.
Man, that's nuts. Like,
I threw a lot of stuff away. I swear, when I first started trying to actually take songwriting seriously, like I would strum some chords and just make stuff up, but never like really wrote anything down. But when I was like, hey, I need to start maybe trying this a little harder, you could have probably heated our house in the wintertime with everything that I threw away. You know what I mean? It was, but Lifetime on the Road was really the first song that I kept. And it's the title track on my EP. It's crazy. I have a song on there called Looking Up at a Dream that is kind of like, wow, how did this happen? You know what I mean? It's still kind of crazy to me that people actually want to hear me.
Yeah. No, that's cool, man. I saw just something recently a while back, like, you know, it was like on Facebook, and it said like, remember when this is what you remember when you wanted what you have now? And it's like, yeah, that's pretty heavy to think about sometimes, you know, like this is all I wanted. And now you know, of course you get to hear and your goals change. You're like, now I want to get there. And it's like,
yeah, absolutely.
But it's important to, like you're saying, looking up at a dream, like it's important to like take it all in while you're in that moment. Like, man, this is it. Like I'm, you know, this is where I wanted to be and I'm in it now. And it's like, this is a really cool moment happening right now.
You know, when I look back to 3 or 4 years ago, like there was always, I mean, obviously it was a dream to go out and play music. To be able to pay bills playing music was a whole nother dream, but there was always something like clouding up that dream. That's why I have the line in the song of there was too much rain, too much snow to see a dream from down below. You know, I don't even know where that line came from, but somewhere. But that's kind of it. I mean, there was always something that was more important in life than until I made it more of a priority, especially when it comes to the songwriting. I'm not the kind of guy, there's plenty of guys in Nashville that schedule times to go sit down and write. I mean, there's local guys that do that, but I was never that kind of guy. I just if I got something that pops into my head, I have a phone full of notes, you know, and sometimes you got to go back and try and develop them a little. And
sure,
that's on the songwriting end, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we talked a lot about your dates and stuff. Like I said, you're kind of all over the place on coming up. You'll be hitting some of the stuff in Carolina and things. Mm-hmm. You can find all that. You can find the EP, Facebook, and everything else.
Yeah, Facebook, Tim Allen Music. Instagram is Tim Allen Music 2. I think the original Tim Allen Music is some guy over in Europe or something. Right. And I have Twitter, but I've not made one tweet.
Right.
But my website is timallenmusic.net, and that's probably the best way to keep up with me.
That's the hub for everything. And
I released a single back in November called 2 Silver Stars, and that, I mean, everything is on iTunes and Spotify and all that.
Right.
That was a pretty interesting song. I wrote that I was trying to write a song about a guy that gave me my first job when I was a kid, and he was always in my life, kind of like a second dad, and he helped us. He came out and helped us build our log home. He had a construction company, so he came out and helped with that, and he was a very decorated Vietnam veteran. And I ended up writing that song about him, and the proceeds from that song, if you download it on iTunes, the proceeds from that will go to a charity called Operation Song out of Nashville, and they take songwriters and hook them up with veterans, and it's very therapeutic to write about your experiences wherever it was in the war or wherever in the military. So it's a cause that I firmly believe in. And yeah,
man, that and 2 Silver Stars, like I said, available everywhere. But be sure to purchase it. Like I said, let's support that cause. That's very cool that you're doing that, and
appreciate that.
It's a great song, man. Beautiful song. For me, there's definitely differences, but there's a lot of similarities where I think of. I'm sure everybody thinks of somebody. We all grew up with that generation above us, that our uncles or neighbor or whoever it might have been, whatever it was. But you talk about the Vietnam vet, and that's my uncle who I don't know, we had a good relationship, but it was difficult because like you were saying that he never left that war. There's a line like that, and that's how I felt with him. Like he was. I don't know. I have no frame of reference of what he saw or what he experienced.
Right.
I know he went through some serious shit, and like I said, I can't even comprehend what happened over there. So we try to make the best of it, but it was difficult. Like I said, just like it was hard to have a real relationship because he's was so much.
It's not
going
something you've experienced. You have no frame of reference.
Right. But he, So anyway, it was difficult, but for me, like I said, that's my personal thing. But just like there was a lot of that kind of hit home when I was listening to that. Just like I immediately thought of him and him being a Vietnam vet and stuff. So.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to do a free show on Veterans Day. I released it on Veterans Day, and I did a free show back home in Mexico that day. And it was great to have that many veterans of multiple wars sitting there listening and them telling me how much they appreciated after I was done.
Yeah. I think that's so cool too, like that you can put it out there and then you can have that interaction, immediate feedback, and so especially at shows and stuff. Like there's a lot of times like where I listen to a song and I feel like they're telling my story, and like as a fan, I really like connect to the lyrics and things, and sometimes like saying these might be made up fictional stories, but sometimes these are true people, and it's like, but the fact that Operation Song kind of helps these guys actually put their stories into these songs and stuff. Like I think
and there's names associated with Operation Song that are pretty big names. I mean, I know Jake Owen has done some work with them. Ward Davis has done a ton of work with them. So I'm glad there's guys out there like that with the bigger names to get a little more momentum behind it that keep it going, because I think it's definitely something that needs to be done.
You do much work in Nashville? You go down there often, or?
On 2 Silver Stars, I was down there. I went down there to watch the steel guitar get tracked. A pretty legendary steel guitar player named Cowboy Eddie Long was gracious enough to record the steel part on there. He used to play with Hank Williams Jr. back in the day, and for a long time. And he's been playing with Jamie Johnson for, I think, since 2007 or 8. And he had said, man, if you want to come down, you're more than welcome to come down when I track it. And I was like, I don't know, man, from Mexico, it's like a little over 6 hours to get down there. And then I was like, wait a minute, what am I thinking? It's literally a living legend is going to record on one of my songs. I'm going to do everything I can to get there.
6 miles east of Beaumont, in a little sundown town called Vidor. Back in 1941, living wasn't easy around there. Work all day in the Texas sun, first chance he had, like a river he'd run. He was on that boat for 31 days to hell on earth while his mama prayed. Good old Uncle Sam didn't give a damn about it. Two tours in, giving all he can, fighting that war in a 4-on lane. He was the funniest man I ever met. Everyone knew that Vietnam vet. He could never leave that war. would sing Old Merle or a gospel hymn. Where you stood, you always knew with him. He had 2 silver stars and a purple heart. Somehow he made it out alive, but not without some scars on his mind. "17 months, 18 days can make a man look older than his age." He had 2 kids, he had a wife, broke his back for the rest of his life. He was the funniest man I ever met. Everyone knew that Vietnam vet. He could never leave that war. He would sing Old Merle or a gospel hymn. Where you stood, you always knew with him. He had 2 silver stars and a purple heart. The funniest man I ever met. Everyone knew that Vietnam vet. He could never leave that war. He would sing Old Merle or a gospel hymn. Where you stood, you always knew with him. He had 2 silver stars and a purple heart. He had 2 silver stars and a purple heart.
That particular day, I had some time to kill, so I went down to Broadway, which I haven't done in a long time. And after I went down there, I remember why. I think some of the best parts of Nashville are not on Broadway.
I hear a lot of it, like if you're really into it and you're, like a songwriter working down there and you're doing things, like most of the cool stuff is in the suburbs, like
Absolutely.
all the songwriter rounds and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's that lower Broadway. And I have friends that play down there, and I'm thinking of one in particular, but there's too many bachelorette parties on Broadway for me, man. It's too crazy, too many people that, and they're having a good time. Look, I'm not by any means knocking it. That's what it's there for. It's there for people to go and have a good time and cut loose. But I'm more interested in actually going and listening to music.
Sure.
I'm not worried about going down there and try and drink as many Fireball shots or as much alcohol as I can. That's not why I want to go there. I want to go there to listen.
Well, no, I was thinking just to work, like just to maybe pitching songs or collaborating with other writers and stuff.
That's there might be some of that coming up.
There you go.
And
because I think like as much as like, I mean, obviously Nashville's got this kind of polished pop country thing that's all over the radio, but there's still a lot of great writers that work out
absolutely,
and that so I think that's what's kind of cool about a town like that, where there's like such a centralized hub of like-minded individuals that all and you can come up with something cool and stuff. I mean, like even guys like of course he's huge now, but like Chris Stapleton was putting in work writing all these songs before he ever made it as a singer and stuff. Yeah. I mean, he was doing arguably he was doing well with Steel Drivers and Johnson Brothers and whatever. Yep. He was putting in work, but he wrote all these songs and has all these huge number ones all over the radio. And then all of a sudden he comes out with his own record, and now he's a superstar and stuff. And but I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of people that are really great that known in the town, but not necessarily known publicly. Like
there are so many songwriters that do not get the credit they deserve. They're starting to. There's a guy named Kendall Marvel I don't know if you know who Kendall Marvel is. He's just done some shows opening for Stapleton, and he is doing his own little headlining thing coming up. And I had the pleasure of seeing him. It's one of the best shows I've seen in a room over in Riverton, Illinois, called the Backroom Lounge that my friend Jeb Brown runs. And we saw Kendall Marvel there with, I think it was 30 people.
Yeah.
And he's been around forever. He's been writing songs, guys like Gary Allen and Jamie Johnson. He co-wrote That Lonesome Song with Jamie Johnson. And to hear a guy like that tell the stories, it's very much a listening room there. Like, if you start talking in the middle of a performance, Jeb has no problem throwing you out.
Right.
And, or at least he'll give you a warning. But to hear a guy on that level of songwriting to sit down and explain where songs came from. And he just put a new album out, so we got to hear some of those songs solo acoustic, which was amazing.
Nice.
So he's done some pretty big shows. I know Kendall has the honky tonk experience. Like, I don't know. You'd have to ask somebody that knows better how often he does it, but I know it's like the second Tuesday of every other month or something like that.
Sure.
Down there in Nashville, and he brings a bunch of friends out. You never know who's going to show up. I know Ashley McBride has been there, and Jamie Johnson has come out there, Randy Houser, all those kind of guys.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see guys like that now. One of my favorite songwriters is Travis Meadows. I don't know if you know who he is.
Yeah, sure.
And it's good. I'm so happy to see guys like that getting the respect that they deserve. You know, there's a ton of them guys out there.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's for me, it's like bittersweet at times. Of course, I'm so excited for my friends when they finally hit big and they're all this stuff. But it's like at the same time, I'm like, damn it. Now I'm never going to be able to see him in a small club anymore, and all this stuff. Like, I'd be talking about some of these names. Like I got to see, I saw John Moreland play in this little bitty, and now it's a sandwich shop. They don't even do music anymore, but it was the Gramophone in St. Louis on Manchester. By the time they were it was like a concert venue and stuff.
John Moreland played there?
Yeah, I saw him there with I don't know, maybe it was 10, 15 people or something. It was a very, very light crowd. And that's the thing. There's a lot of times I go to these shows and I'm like, where the hell is everybody? This guy is incredible. He's up here just pouring his heart out in these songs. And there's, but, and then of course, things took off for him and he's opening for Isabel and all these guys or whatever and doing big things. But stuff like that, it's like I see these amazing talents in small rooms and all of a sudden everybody else catches on. And then it's like, well, shit. I guess there goes that experience. So, I saw Stapleton in the Firebird with 300 people.
Wow.
I saw Jason Isbell and Plush. It was like a small little venue he played there. Maybe 200-300 people or something like that. And
we saw Stapleton when he first started doing the Chris Stapleton thing and not Steel Drivers or Johnson Brothers. We saw him in Columbia at the Blue Note out there in Columbia, which is one of my favorite venues on earth. They have a street concert series, 9th Street. Yeah. They close the street down, and it's great.
Yeah, there's some good parties out there.
That was where we first saw him, and he was actually opening up for Dierks Bentley.
Oh, wow.
And he would go up and he would say, yeah, I wrote this song, and so-and-so recorded it. I wrote this song, Darius Rucker recorded it, and I'm listening to this guy, and of course, nobody's ever paying attention to the opener, speaking from experience. And I told my group of friends that I was with, I was like, you guys need to, they were all talking. And I said, man, you ladies need to pay attention to this guy. And then it was, I don't know, a few months later that he was on the award show with Tennessee Whiskey and just blew up after that. They were like, hey, that's that guy we saw in Columbia.
Well,
when I was trying to tell you to pay attention.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm probably guilty of that too. There's been times there's people that I've noticed, I noticed the name and but I didn't really quite embrace it and respect it for what it was at the time, and then all of a sudden now they're huge and it's now I want to go see them. But so I kind of somehow I feel like I've jumped on late. Tyler Childers is a good example. first I didn't get it. Like I wasn't like crazy about his voice. I was just like, I remember he sold out like Duck Room here in St. Louis like instantly, and then they bumped it up to Del Mar Hall, and then he sold that out like instantly. And then like the next time he came to town, and with the latest tour with Country Squire record came out, and he did a night at I think it was Stiefel. I think he did Stiefel one night and sold it out like 20 or 2,000 people, 2,300, something like that.
Wow.
And then he sold out the pageant the next
That's
night,
amazing.
which is another like or 2,300 people or something. Well, it's a little less the pageant than whatever the numbers are. I don't know, but anyway, so. But I went to the pageant one, and I was like, I saw a show, and I was like, I really got into him just recently, but like I finally connected. I finally understood what everybody was been talking about.
Yeah.
Because I really started listening to the writing, and that's where I connected with him. Like, I can look past some of the voice stuff, like it just that's just my personal preference.
Right.
But like I looked past all that because like the writing is so good. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
So
he has some very good friends over in Columbia because they gave him a shot over there at Rose Music Hall, and I think the first time he played there was like happy hour, and there was like 8 people.
Yeah.
That was not that long ago. I mean, I'm not talking 5 years ago. It was more recent than that.
Yeah,
3 maybe.
There's a really
and then
good,
the next time he played there was 15 people. He had his own show. And then when Purgatory came out is when we went and saw him there, and it was packed.
Yeah.
And a local guy as an opener, same thing I was just referring to, nobody paying attention to him. So a guy like Tyler, it was not that long ago when he was the guy in the corner of a little cafe or somewhere with nobody paying attention.
Yeah.
So things can happen fast. That's for sure.
There's a really good video, some like it's like all home video footage of him, and he's doing that shake the frost up.
Yep, shake the frost.
Yeah, and he but it's like him on a couch, like at a house party, like as like a little kid.
Yep.
He looks like a little kid. He still is a little, he's young, but he was like all clean shaved and short hair and all this stuff, and he's like sitting on the couch playing this song, and then of course it's all like a big cut up compilation of it, and then then it shows him like at Red Rocks, like with 20,000 people out there or whatever, that kind of thing. So it's like
that whole Kentucky scene and guys like Stapleton and Sturgill and Tyler obviously are leading that charge. But I have quite a few friends over there that are musicians who are that's a pretty tight knit group down there. And there's guys that are so talented on that same level of talent, but people just haven't discovered him yet.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe that whole Kentucky scene that's going on right now is going to be looked back on as something that changed the direction of country music. Kind of like, I hate to compare things, but kind of like the best thing I could compare to would be like grunge, what grunge did.
Yeah.
So I don't know. There's a lot of talent down in that area, but there's a lot everywhere. Kansas City's music scene for our style of music is pretty hot right now too.
Yeah.
And of course down in Texas, I mean, that's a whole nother ball game.
All right.
That Fort Worth area down there is just exploding with talent.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that's why I do this show. Like, that's why I believe in all my friends and their talents, and like I know, I just feel like if the right people hear it, like things will change. So I just keep telling everybody about it and trying to keep getting the word out there that there's something. St. Louis has world class players. Like some of these guys, like go into play all over Europe and everything else, and are like rock stars over there, and then they come home and like nobody knows their name, and I'm like, I don't get how that works. Like
it's crazy.
But I
wouldn't mind exploding over.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I'd be David Hasselhoff over there.
There you go.
But yeah, I mean, you never know where somebody's going to come from. I mean, we went to the Blue Note and watched Marcus King, and that was the first time I've seen him.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely blown away.
He's so good, yeah.
23, is he?
Yeah, something like
it's
that.
It's crazy. Yeah. Like he's almost like too talented.
Right.
Like somebody should not be able to play guitar that good and have that good of a voice for the style that he plays.
Right.
So, and he's from Greenville, South Carolina area.
Yeah. It's in his blood, though. I mean, that guy.
Oh yeah,
I mean, the family's been doing it forever, and like I mean, like it's just ingrained in him. Like so.
And what a nice guy! I got to talk to him a little bit before the show, and what a nice guy.
Yeah. I've never met him, but he just seems like super cool and like that's the best though, man. Like I've got to meet some of those guys, and like when they exceed your expectations as like being just ultimate, like just great human beings, like that's the best. It makes me even more of a fan, you know. It's like
absolutely. I went to shake his hand, and he was like, "Hey, I'm Marcus." I'm like, "Yeah, I know who you are. You're the reason we came here."
Yeah. That's so cool though. I love having those moments like that with guys that I really admire. So, but again, get involved. Everything TimAllenmusic.net, Facebook, Instagram, and everything.
Yes.
Be sure to check out Lifetime on the Road EP, available digitally everywhere.
Yes, sir.
Download 2 silver stars and help support the charity.
Yep. Operation Song.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But,
and I'll be on the road somewhere. I need to definitely get down to St. Louis more.
Coming to a town near you.
Yeah. You never know where I'll be. Try to keep up.
Yeah.
I can't hardly keep up with myself. You know?
Well, so you kind of touched on a couple of things for 2020. You got some things you're working on. We don't want to disclose everything yet, but what is some goals you have set for yourself?
Goals? I definitely want to do more band shows. They're just so much fun. I'm going to have to keep doing the solo acoustic or acoustic duo shows. I have a couple different guitar players that work with me, and but the band shows are just so much fun. I wish a goal would be to be able to do band shows all the time. And I try to always have musicians that are better than I am as a musician. I'm not the greatest guitar player by any means. So surrounding myself with musicians that are better than me is a goal. And have a full-time band. I share band members with other groups, and I mean it's working out, but it's tough to get to where I want to go to be able to get out of playing coffee shops and cafes and play music venues is definitely a goal too. I'm trying to write more. I would love to say that I sit down and try to write every day, but it just doesn't happen because of life.
Right.
But I would like to get to where I have enough to do a full album. I don't want to say that it's going to be anything that gets done this year. I don't want to put any time constraints on it because of the way that I write. I try to write when it hits me. I don't try to force anything.
Right. There's something about that too. Like you got to live a little life to have something to write about too. You know.
Absolutely. Most of my songs end up being about traveling because I do it so much.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, that and sad songs. I got songs that are not on the EP. I mean, I can go and easily do an hour and a half of originals, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But a lot of them don't flow. Like we were talking before we got on mic, that a lot of them don't flow together and wouldn't necessarily make a good album. I don't want to just throw a bunch of singles. I don't want to do that just to record. I definitely want to have some sort of direction that an album is going. And I have the base of the album in my head. I know where I want it to go. So laying it out and trying to write around that general idea. And it's more of a thing of, hey, this is me. Sure. You know what I mean? This is the style that I want to do. On the EP, we tried to give a different style with every song.
Yeah, a little sampler.
Yeah. The song "Lifetime on the Road" is a spaghetti western kind of song, and "Looking Up at a Dream" is a little more of a ballad. "Who Am I to Say" is more of a gospel feel. The song "Truth Just Don't Sell" definitely has more of a honky tonk feel. I wrote that back in 2016 during the elections, and that's about as political as I will get. And I also put a cover song on there, a fellow by the name of Wayne Mills. And Wayne was a very, very talented guy, and he was tragically murdered at a bar in Nashville after a George Jones tribute concert. And I never met Wayne. Have some friends that were either in his band or really good friends with him, and I've heard how crazy Wayne was, but his songwriting was amazing too. So had the honor of recording one of his songs. I was trying to put a song on there for my girlfriend, and I wanted to write a song to let her know exactly how I feel about some of the stuff she has to put up with from me, you know. So, and I realized that Wayne had already written that song, and that song, Bad Side of Me, it means a lot to me. It's really an honor to have one of his songs on this album, on the EP.
Yeah, man. Well, it kind of reminds me, I got a couple questions I wanted to ask. These are just some random questions that I enjoy, that because they're kind of open-ended, and it's interesting to hear what people will take them and stuff. But one of them is being a song you wish you wrote, and so maybe that's probably the answer is that. Like, kind of maybe that's.
There's a ton of songs out there I wish I would have wrote, but yeah, that's definitely up there. That's one of them. When I do covers in a live show, I don't do any. I don't want to say I don't do any, but generally, if I'm doing a cover song, it's because it's something that I relate to. I have to be able to feel it. I honestly believe, I mean, you've been to shows a number of times. You can tell when somebody's not really into that song.
Right.
And if I can't feel the song, people are going to be able to tell. So there's a gazillion songs out there I wish I would have wrote Tennessee Whiskey. You know what I mean? Just because it's been cut by so many people. But I mean, there's a number of Willie Nelson songs I wish I would have wrote. Right. Obviously, a bunch of Merle Haggard songs that I would have wrote. His song Footlights is one of my favorites. Johnny Paycheck's Old Violin. The more I travel up and down the road, the more I can relate to that song. Then there's songs that aren't in the country genre that I wish I would have written. I wish I would have wrote Turn the Page.
Oh, yeah.
That's the story of my life, you know?
Yeah.
Just beating up the highways. There's so many.
Right. What's a movie or TV show you wish you were in?
Wish I was in? Ooh, that's a tough question.
Either you could replace a cast member or be. Is there any?
Wow, I've never thought of that before.
I even think about it as I love Price is Right. I think that would be fun to be a contestant sometime.
Yeah.
I like a lot of game shows and stuff.
Any movie that had to do with like Wyatt Earp.
Well, that's what's kind of fun. I mean, like that's what's fun about it. You can take it whatever you want it, but that's
It'd be cool to have been in like a John Wayne movie.
That would be cool. Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of them too. Now, if I really put some thought into that, I think I could come up with something better than Dumb and Dumber or something, you know?
Which is classic.
Yes.
That's so funny.
Just had a conversation with my drummer about that one.
That movie keeps getting funnier for me. Like, I've been watching it for whatever, probably 20 some years or whatever. And when I watched it as a kid, you know, I was like, there was a ton of jokes that just went right over my head.
Absolutely.
And then like I watched it again, and then like, but there's stuff like you have to live a little life to understand some of these things, even just like some of the references that they use, because, you know, there's just like quick little jokes with like stuff like, he says like, some little filly break your heart, and he's like, oh no, it was a girl, and then like, you know, stuff like,
yeah, as a kid you don't
right,
get that
and like, oh, she wrote me a John Deere letter, and you know, stuff like that. Like,
maybe her name's on the briefcase.
Yeah, like,
oh, there it is, Samsonite.
Yeah. All right, so like, as a kid, like I don't know Samsonite, like it just doesn't, you know, just nothing you think about, and it's like, but there's so many.
This is almost the exact conversation my drummer and I just had.
There's so many quick jokes in there, and then so they get funnier as I get older. I'm like, I catch a different joke like every time I watch it, and like. So, if you haven't watched Dumb and Dumber in a while, go do that because it's great. What's your strangest fear?
My strangest fear?
Do you have any weird ones that you want to talk about?
Not a big fan of snakes, I'll tell you that much. Oh, I should not have said that. I just had this thought of like I'm going to go to do a show now and somebody's going to have a rubber snake or something. No, they don't bother me as long as I see them first. Strangest fear.
That's how I am. I don't mind like spiders or whatever, as long as I can like see them. Like if they fall on my back or something like that, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't like that. But
Me either.
yeah. I don't have a problem with any of those. But yeah, this is I've had some weird ones on here for sure. People want to talk about it. It's always funny to see what happens with them. What's a song that always gets stuck in your head?
What did I have the other day? I think it was 2 out of 3 Ain't Bad the other day that got stuck in my head. And I was like, why is this just not going away? I used to work with a guy when I was still living in Ohio. And he had, I'm trying to remember what song it was. It was Kenny Rogers, Through the Years. And he told me it was for months. He would wake up every single morning before his feet would even hit the floor. That song would be in his head. He couldn't get it out. Right. And then it got stuck in mine. I'm like, thanks a lot. But I mean, there's a lot of songs that get stuck in my head and the way that I get them out is I generally have to sit down with the guitar and play them and get it out of my head. I know the reason 2 out of 3 Ain't Bad got stuck in my head is because Jamie Johnson did a killer version of that song.
Nice. I whistle a lot of songs, I get that Bee Gees Staying Alive. Like I get that, I get the whistling that like all the time, and I'm like I don't know why, but that's the one that pops in, and I'll get stuck whistling that damn song all day long. And
I get that old Dobie Gray song, Drift Away, stuck in my head a lot, and I play it at shows sometimes. I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but a lot of times that I play it at shows, it's because it was stuck in my head. I don't know why. It's such a good hook on that song. You know?
Yeah. What's a dream duet or collaboration?
Dream duet. As far as songwriting, I told you, my favorite songwriter is Travis Meadows. A collaboration that might actually be happening, but I'm not allowed to say that yet. That might be happening down in Nashville.
All right.
Really strange opportunity that I'm very, very grateful for. We'll see if it actually happens.
All right.
I don't want to get my hopes up too much.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm like,
I mean, as far as collaboration, like there's so many guys out there that, I mean, obviously in the kind of music that I like, one of the hottest ones right now is Cody Jinks. I mean, that would be pretty cool. And he's been around the mid-Missouri area for years. That guy did so many shows out there with the old Snorty Horse.
Oh, yeah.
And, I've been following that guy for a while.
I spent a lot of nights at Snorty Horse back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of good times over there.
Yeah, I wish that place would get going again.
I would think a guy like Dave Cobb would be
good Lord. That would be a dream.
There you go.
Oh my gosh!
It seems like everything he's touching right now is just gold. He obviously all the people are incredibly talented in their own right, but then you get Dave Cobb's touch on it, and
absolutely, that would definitely be a dream. Yeah, that's so far out of my realm of thinking. I didn't even.
It's a dream, man.
Yeah,
it's dream big.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, maybe we'll make that a reality.
Right. Yeah. I believe in self-fulfilled prophecy, so we'll see what happens. We'll put it out there, let the universe take over. So.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. Do you do any celebrity impressions?
No. I do the song Seven Spanish Angels, and every once in a while when I do it, I'll go into a little Willie Nelson. But other than that, not really.
Yeah.
No, I don't do Christopher Walken or anything like that.
Right. Mine always just like, I feel like I can mimic something, It's like something, I feel like if I heard it, I could repeat it, but I don't like to do an impression. You kind of got to stay in that character, and you got to
absolutely,
like
Sling Blade.
Like I feel like I can do that.
I remember this one time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I can do different thing, which we do a lot of Sling Blade here at work with my buddy Ray. We always you got any of them French fried potatoes?
Yeah, right. Right. So. Or Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Mama said these are my magic shoes. Yeah. Jenny and I was like peas and carrots again.
That's another, man. There's so many classic lines in that movie, too.
Oh, yeah, there is.
Your mama sure don't care a lot about your education.
That part when Jenny is throwing the rocks at the house and he goes, sometimes there just isn't enough rocks.
Yep.
I don't know why that line struck me as funny because it's a pretty serious part of the movie,
Yeah.
but it was just the way he said it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
The best actors of all time.
There's a lot of stuff that I find hilarious, and I laugh. Like, it's really bad because I go to a lot of movies at the theater.
Yeah.
And I'll laugh at very inappropriate times, and I'm the only one in the theater laughing.
Right.
And I'm like, sorry, I found it funny. Like,
Yeah.
it's like I probably shouldn't, but it made me laugh.
Well, people's sense of humor isn't what it used to
Right.
be. Everybody's too easily offended nowadays.
Luckily, my wife's usually with me, and she's laughing too. So,
Right.
like, we get each other, but not everybody else understands our sense of humor and stuff. So, but yeah, anyway, so I'm totally with you on that. I laugh at a lot of inappropriate times but Tim, this has been awesome, man. I really enjoyed
So
hanging
good
out.
to finally meet you. Thank you so much for what you do, especially with your social media, putting everything out there for all the guys that are trying to do this thing, you know. I appreciate you having me on, that's for sure.
My pleasure. This has been really great. Like I said, hopefully we can do it again soon. You get some of them new songs ready to rock and roll, and
absolutely.
come over back on, and we'll talk about them, man. That'd be really great. So
Right on. Appreciate it.
maybe hopefully we'll be talking about that collaboration if that.
You never know.
If that happens.
Dave Cobb.
Yeah, hey.
Yeah. He's a little too expensive for my budget right now.
Yeah.
So.
But thank you. And if you haven't been following along with Tim online, there's a lot of you got your shirts and CDs and hats and all kinds of cool merch up there too. So
We just released a new line of merch that's got a pretty cool little logo on it, and it's got the American flag with a guitar on the back, and it says "The journey is the destination."
yeah, so snag some gear. Be sure to support some
Ship it worldwide.
Yeah, there you go.
I've shipped stuff over to Europe, so
Very cool, man. Yeah, that's if I get a little bit of like I mentioned off mic about some of the numbers and the stuff I get, and like this shows me like where people are listening all over the world. I'm like, that is so cool to think about that somebody's listening to
it's
this.
crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, like a dream gig for me. We have a friend over in Australia, and she desperately wants us to get over there and play.
Yeah,
That would be a dream gig.
There you go.
For sure.
well, let's make it happen. Let's
I'm all about it.
yeah.
Got to get my passport.
Yeah, there you go. All right, buddy. Well,
All
thank you, Tim. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast. Rock Paper Podcast.
Rock Paper Podcast.
Well, yeah, that was it.